Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum. Pertama sekali, terima kasih kepada rakan-rakan media. Thank you to the international press as well for making the time for today's press conference. I'd like to start off by mentioning one big program which we intend to have on the 8th of May, on the eve of election day, satu malam sebelum masa kita pergi untuk buang undi. Pada 8 hari bulan Mei, pada pukul 10 malam, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad akan menyampaikan pesanan perdana. It's called pesanan perdana, or the perdana speech, pada pukul 10 malam di Langkawi, yang akan disiarkan live melalui laman Facebooknya Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Dan pada masa yang sama, apabila ia disiarkan live di Facebooknya, di semua kawasan parlimen yang lain, 222, akan ada ceramah-ceramah mega di tempatnya tersendiri. Dan pada pukul 10 malam, ceramah-ceramah mega ini semua akan berhenti untuk memberi laluan untuk pesanan perdana daripada Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Pada masa yang sama, our aim and our goal is to reach out to a minimum of 10 million Malaysian voters. Kita nak pastikan bahawa mesej ataupun pesanan perdana ini tercapai kepada 10 juta pengundi di Malaysia. Kalau kita lihat perbandingan dengan apa yang berlaku semalam di Putrajaya, dengan adanya 62,000 live Facebook viewers apabila Tun Dr. Mahathir berucap, dan reachnya mencapai 2 juta. So that's 2 million. We plan to increase it by 5 times to 10 million. Pada masa yang sama, sebagai salah seorang anak muda, saya nak menyeru kepada anak muda di luar sana, khususnya anak muda di perantauan. I think usually those who, for example, vote in Muar, who might not work in Muar, who might be in Singapore, JB, Klang Valley or KL, selalunya pada malam tersebut mereka dah balik ke rumah kerana mereka akan mengundi pada hari yang akan datang. And the message to them is, pastikan pada pukul 10 malam tersebut, kalau ibu bapa tak pergi ke tapak ceramah mega di mana kita akan ada very big screen di 222 kawasan parlimen tersebut, pastikan bawa handphone tu dan ajak kawan-kawan dan keluarga, khususnya golongan ibu bapa, pakcik-pakcik, makcik-makcik, atuk-atuk dan nenek-nenek, untuk bersama melihat pesanan perdana daripada Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. This will be the final address before we enter into before we cast our votes. Ini memang akan jadi program yang sangat besar, dan kami berharap bahawa rakyat Malaysia, khususnya golongan pengundi, akan mendengar pesanan perdana daripada bakal Perdana Menteri Malaysia yang ke-7. Terima kasih.
Saya percaya bahawa announcement yang kita buat hari ini, announcement will be publicized, and of course the government will think of ways to stop us from reaching the people. That has been the way of this PN government. Even my picture cannot be shown. If you show my picture, they will cut it out and throw it out. And this one is going to make full use of the social media, and we want to reach 10 million people, 10 million voters. Obviously, this will be very frightening to the DN government. So they will do everything possible to put a stop. We know today we have difficulty finding sites to hold our rallies. They know very well that our rallies are very big, with sometimes as many as 25,000 people. In fact, in Penang there were about more than 100,000 people, but Penang of course is under our rule, so we can do that in Penang. But in other places we always meet problems with finding sites. They try to give us the smallest site possible, but despite that, despite their physical attempt to stop us, people still turn up at our rallies. In fact, in one rally, I was shocked to see people sitting on the wet ground. It had been raining a little bit, shower, and the ground was wet and it was muddy. People were sitting cross-legged on the floor and they sat there until 12 o'clock. They didn't move. They wanted to listen what we have to say. And of course this would be detrimental to the government's attempt to keep the people away from the correct news. So now we have the fake news law. The first victim will be me. I think there was one foreigner who was a victim. I am supposed to have made a fake news because I said that my plane was damaged so that I couldn't fly to Langkawi. Or that was fake news, and that was a statement made by the authorities. I know the authorities have to obey every word made by Datuk Sri Najib, and they have to say that, oh no, there was no sabotage, and that this was normal. I have been flying, I think, thousands of times in private planes, in commercial planes, but I have never had damage done to the front wheel of the plane, because it's a very dangerous thing to damage the front wheel, because at takeoff it may run off the runway and go into the side. It could crash, it could burst out into flames. There was myself, my wife, and my daughter in that plane. That was the plan. But the pilot found out that the wheels are dangerous, so he didn't fly. But the DCA or the authorities never came to ask what is happening, and they claim that they got a plane, another plane for me is absolute nonsense. It's a lie. The plane that I managed to get was a plane that was rented by a friend who wanted to fly and with his wife to Singapore. And when we saw his plane there, he wanted to fly to Singapore, we asked him whether the plane can be diverted to Langkawi. And he consented. We had to have the permission of the authorities, we had to have the permission of the company before the plane could fly. But fortunately, we got the permission and I was able to fly to Langkawi. Any other story by the DCA or whatever is not correct. That is the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. Okay, any question?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Tun, yesterday the Navy chief announced that his personnel, people from the Navy, are free to vote. Can you please give a response to that? How do you see this? Were they responding to your plea that you gave just a day earlier?
Well, what is a fact is that I have issued an open letter to the armed forces chiefs that they should not prevent their staff from voting, and they should not force their staff to vote for any particular party, including ours. You see, let the staff, the rank and file, the lower ranking officers vote according to their own free will. This is what democracy is all about. But I believe that in some cases, votes by the armed forces were monitored and then transferred. For example, in the case of Datuk Sri Najib in 1999, he was about to lose, and a lot of votes were transferred from a camp to Pekan. And in 1999, he won by only 214 votes. Yet in 2013, he won by 35,000 votes. Where do the votes come from if it is not cheating? And he is going to cheat like mad because he knows that losing this election would cost him a lot of things.
Will the statement by the Navy chief ensure that there will be free and fair voting from the Navy personnel?
Well, if the chief says so, I think in a disciplined force, yes, people will follow the advice.
Do you
I
expect?
am waiting for the police to say that. I am waiting for the chief of the armed forces to say that.
So what's your comments on the Thiên Chua appeal?
On
The Thiên Chua appeal rejection.
what?
The Batu parliament seat this morning is rejected.
Well, we leave it to the courts. But what is true is that the judge previously did not fine him 8,000 or 3,000 ringgit, because that would mean he would not be able to contest. The judge fined him only 2,000, and yet the returning officer made his own decision that Thiên Chua is not eligible to vote. Well, we went to the courts, and the court says the court sided with the returning officer. I don't want to say anything more than that.
So what's the strategy for the Pakatan Harapan for the Batu parliament seat? For the Batu parliament seat, yeah. Is there any latest strategy for the seat? Yeah. Strategy, yeah. Any plan
For
the,
him,
yeah.
at that constituency,
Yeah.
well, we'll make sure that BN will not win. We don't care who wins, but we must make sure BN will not win. They deserve to lose because they cheat.
Dr. Mahathir, Natalie from CRT World in Turkey. You were Prime Minister here for 22 years, a battle-hardened political campaigner over many years, but this is your first time doing it from the other side, from the opposition. Is this the hardest political fight of your life?
Yeah, during my time, campaign was not very interesting. People who want to be candidates, they can be. If they form new parties against the government, they will have our registration. This is the first time I have to experience a campaign in which the government party goes all out to prevent people from participating in the election. Particularly me, I don't know why, but even my picture cannot be shown. And I'm told I cannot go around and campaign. There was no such ruling in the past. And now you see the Prime Minister, he is free to go anywhere. You see his pictures all over the place. Why is it that his picture is not taken down? This is something unusual. So the voters' list has been tampered with. The constituencies have been changed and boundaries changed. The money has been used lavishly, given to some of our supporters. Some of my officers from my party were bought over, crossed over, and told to condemn our party. This is unusual. It's never happened before. We can go back and see the records. So this is something new in my experience. So I'm glad that I have seen rotten election as compared to clean election.
Well, pollsters are saying that at the moment, it looks like it could go back to Barisan Nasional. Maybe they get about 42% of the vote. Do you think that in the next couple of days, you can convince people to come out to vote for Pakatan Harapan?
Well, I don't know the basis for them predicting who's going to win, who's going to lose. For me, how people physically respond is much more important. In our rallies, as many as 100,000 people have attended. in some of my rallies, 40,000 attended, 20,000 attended. And yet, we took pictures of Najib's rallies. Najib, when he holds a rally, you see at least 30 or 40 buses. People who were brought from other states to attend the rally. They were paid money. They were given food. And yet we see a lot of blue chairs which were empty. And people actually walked out while he was giving a speech.
We are halfway through. We are halfway through campaigning now, and you have been crisscrossing the country, stumping for certain candidates. What is your assessment of PH performance so far, and similarly for Barisan as well?
We see mounting interest and presence at our rallies. Before Parliament was dissolved, we would expect about 4,000 or 5,000 people. Now the figures have gone up to as much as 20,000, 25,000. In Kuantan there were about 40,000. You see, you take a picture of them, you see just eggs all over, a sea of eggs. And when we ask them to show the light, your cellular phone light. Last night, for example, there were so many lights that they fused together. You look as if there are one big source of light, because everybody had their phone out there. Now, if that is not an indication of support, I don't know. But what we fear is, of course, the massive cheating that will be done by Najib. Yeah.
As I said, it is halfway through election campaigning. There has been some concerns about your age, whether you are up for it, and you're coughing earlier. How are you faring so far?
Yeah, I'm still coughing. The strange thing is that when I don't cough. And in Kuantan, I spoke for 1 hour. Of course, before I used to speak for 1 hour, no problem, because I was young. Now I am old. I still can speak for 1 hour. I would like to find out any other 93 years old willing to speak for 1 hour on the stage.
But then for anyone, yes, it would be ordealing for anyone your age. But for you, you feel yourself.
Huh?
For anyone your age, it would be a very tiring ordeal.
Yeah, it is very tiring, but I survive. I can even answer your question. Can you imagine that?
Can you clarify one point? You yourself say you're 93 or 92, because all the reports keep.
My age, I will be 93 in July, on July the 10th. Please attend my birthday.
Okay, I think that should be it for this session. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Is this a significant move for the Navy chief? Is this a significant statement by the Navy?
Yeah, it is a very significant thing. I expect all the chiefs to say the same thing.
Do you think this will, what you say, will encourage the other service chiefs to do the same?
I hope so. I hope so. But, many of them are frightened of Najib.
Why is this a significant statement for you?
It's significant because we need to have fair election. It's unfair if people are prevented from voting or influenced into voting for a particular party.
Okay, sorry guys, Friday prayers. I'll go on Friday prayers. Sorry.